To our second point here, while sticking in that same subject, Dan Orlovsky, ESPN analyst, which I know as soon as I say that name, a lot of people are going to be like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Well, he's got three names that the Pittsburgh Steelers should call immediately for a quarterback, and I think all three of them to some degree make some sense and are worth definitely talking about. Those three teams are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Chicago Bears, and the Minnesota Vikings, obviously for Baker Mayfield, for Justin Fields, and or for Kirk Cousins. You hear those three names. We have talked about Justin Fields plenty. And, I'm going to reiterate a lot of the same things that I've reiterated and will continue to reiterate. Like the Justin Fields conversation will not end out of my mouth until Mason Rudolph is the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2024 and or one of these other quarterbacks are already on the roster. You hear those three names, you hear those three quarterbacks, you hear Dan Orlovsky say you got to call one of those three. If you're Omar Khan, you think any of the three are realistic. And if you are going to pick of the three, what of the three are you going to pick?
Well, I think the answer to both those questions is the same. I think Justin Fields is the most realistic one, and I think he's the one that I want the most. I think you look at, so if you're kind of ordering it, I feel like I would put Justin Fields up top, like that's your top option. Then I think Kirk Cousins, and then I think Baker Mayfield. And I think both Baker and Kirk are just going to be a little bit too much money for what you're getting. I like I like Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins is good, and I think he could do some cool things with Deontay and George Pickens, and even Pat Freiermuth too. But what is his cap hit? Like $45 million.
It's got to be up there.
Yeah, like it's a lot of money, and money that I don't think the Steelers can really afford right now, especially considering that there are some other possible big time upgrades out there. And I think it's kind of the same deal with Baker. Just what was it?
I believe it is 28 and a half next year.
Okay. More reasonable.
Definitely more reasonable. It might be voided money. He might be on a 1 year, $35 million deal, and then everything else is
incentives.
No.
Oh, no.
In 2024, Cousins will earn a $28.5 million cap hit, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so then I'm thinking about that a little bit more. I still feel like Fields is the better option, but that's not disqualifying, I feel like, for Kirk Cousins. But by that same vein, like that would eliminate Baker, because Baker's a free agent, and I feel like he's gonna have to get paid by someone. Like,
yeah, 100%.
You were saying before we came on that, like, if you're the Bucs, you already have. I mean, especially after that Philly win, you've got Baker's contract like already written up. It just needs his ink on it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly where I stand. Is I'd rather have a quarterback where either I have 1 year of, okay, we'll see what happens, money, which is Justin Fields, 1 year of or an understanding of what I'm going to have to pay them and how crazy it's going to get, which is, okay, cool. Baker's a guy where, for one, isn't he on a 1 year deal? So why are you calling the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Like, you just, hey, could you sign him so that, you could trade him to us? That one's weird to me. And I don't want a guy who has one good season. And what are the terms of good? Like, Baker Mayfield looked good, and he beat an Eagles team that has been struggling. And I get it. Like, I'm a Baker fan. I like Baker Mayfield a lot. I feel like he's the biggest risk of the three. Like, you look at all three of them, and you're going, all right, like, Baker could be really good. He could also, like, not be really good. Like, in my opinion, it's kind of simple, like, when it comes to that. And I'll talk about the other two in a second here, but when it comes to Baker, like, and maybe I'm alone here, I think Mason Rudolph and Baker Mayfield are almost on the same level for me right here. Like, I think if I had to pick, I'm just going to re-sign Mason Rudolph and say, well, Mason Rudolph looked really good. And, Baker's looked really good too, but Baker's looked really good, and he's led his team. I don't know what Tampa Bay's record was this year, but it definitely wasn't 10-7, and he definitely didn't face the level of competition that the Pittsburgh Steelers have faced this season. And I just, I'm not saying that Mason's perfect, but if you're going to take a risk, I'm taking a risk on the guy who's here and is proven, and who Deontay and Jalen and George and Pat and everybody else love. Like, that makes a lot more sense to me.
Right.
I'm still going Justin Fields over any of them. But Kirk Cousins, $28.5 million, certainly intrigues me. No doubt about it.
Yeah, certainly thinking about Kirk Cousins. The other thing about Baker is he's not going to be throwing to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin.
Yeah, exactly.
Here.
That's exactly it. Like you're not your level of talent goes down. He's a guy that's injured all the time. Like, and again, I'm a big Baker fan, but let Tampa Bay have Baker if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you have your Baker. Your Baker is Mason Rudolph. Like, just stick with Mason Rudolph at that point.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I feel like the ceiling that the room between Justin Fields right now and his ceiling, I feel like is much larger than like Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield would be, in my opinion, walking into worse situations if they came from their current teams to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like just in terms of like the roster around them.
I agree. I almost had to think about that one, and then the name Justin Jefferson clicked in my head.
Right. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Hawkinson, a lot of guys.
Yeah.
But like Justin Fields, like this is a significant talent upgrade, like on the entire offense coming from the Bears to the Steelers. And so I feel like in that vein, there's a lot of potential there. There's a lot more meat on the bone with Justin Fields that you could still kind of pick at and see what you got there. The other two kind of proven commodities, which I guess in one sense is good, but I mean, it puts a hard ceiling on their potential. And I feel like Justin Fields, there's just a lot of potential that hasn't been tapped yet. I don't know. I'm a big Justin Fields guy, so I feel like
Justin Fields guy.
I'm a huge Justin Fields guy. So
I just look at if you're going to make I think my understanding is very simple. If you're not going to draft a quarterback, or maybe I guess try to sign one depending on how the free agency market goes, the only quarterback that I'm trading for in the NFL, if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's realistic. That's a realistic trade. Is Justin Fields. He's the only one I'm thinking about. Is the rest of them, you could come up with this reason or that reason or whatever not to make that move. Justin Fields is the only one that I'm sitting around going, that makes 100% sense. That is 100% worth the risk. That is 100% worth the draft capital. You go get Justin Fields. The rest of them, I'm good. Like, I think you could find other alternatives or take other risks or do whatever you want to do to handle the situation outside. Like Justin Fields, to me, just like you said, like I could look up at my ceiling here, 15 feet above me. It's nowhere near the ceiling that Justin Fields has. Like, the guy could be unreal. He's working with DJ Moore. Before he was working with DJ Moore, he was working with nobody, like literally nobody. He hasn't had a strong running game, maybe ever in his entire career. He's had an awful offensive line. He just got a defense. He's been flipping head coaches nonstop. Like, just think about what Justin Fields could do with Mike Tomlin as his head coach, as a guy who is steady and calm and going to just keep everybody relaxed in the moment. I think it's with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, an offensive line that is missing two pieces. And I get it, they're two crucial pieces, but you could fill those pieces this offseason. And a guy in George Pickens and Deontay Johnson and Pat Freiermuth and Connor Hayward and Calvin Austin. And I mean, that is, just put Justin Fields in the best case, in the best scenario he could possibly be in when comparing the two teams. And the other two, I agree with you. I think it's a step down. And I just think that there's other factors there where, like, don't get me wrong, Kirk Cousins might lead the Steelers to the Super Bowl, but he doesn't excite me enough to go make that move. I don't know how old Justin Fields or how old Kirk Cousins is, but he's got to be in his 30s, right? He's got to be like 33, 34, something like that.
Easily, like, I can look it up.
Yeah, he's up there. 35 years old. So that's a guy that, like, what are you giving up for a 35-year-old Kirk Cousins? A first-round pick, definitely. And is that worth it? Nope. I'm giving up a second and a third for Justin Fields.
Right.
Any day of the week.
The asking price for Justin Fields is so cheap. Like, it's unreal. That's
what I'm giving up for him. And I'm feeling 10 times better about that for a 25-year-old or a 24-year-old or whoever than I am for either one of the other two. Or I'm just sticking with Mason Rudolph, saying, hey, come on back. It is what it is. I don't know what the other free agents are. We'll get into that later, I guess. But for right now, if you had to pick between these three, easy. Would you, let's just say Baker was the only realistic one, because I don't think Kirk's a realistic one. What would you give up for Baker Mayfield? Third round pick?
Oh, I don't know if the Bucs would go for that.
I know. If you're the Steelers, what are you calling and offering?
I'd offer a third. I feel like, you got to offer a third and like something else, right? Like
third and Kenny Pickett. You could have Kenny Pickett.
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
That's what I'm offering. It sounds
Yeah.
good, but I'm not going anything higher than that. Justin Fields, I'm going second and third. Easy. I would consider a first depending on how the situation looks and
Well,
what
I
else
feel
they're
like
willing to give up.
I feel like he's worth a first, so I would give a
Yeah.
first. But I'm not leading with that because clearly the Bears are prone to getting fleeced.
No, dude.
especially
Omar
by
Khan's
the-
picking up the
especially by
phone
the
and going,
Steelers,
hey, Ryan Poole, we'll give you a 5th round pick, and then they'll work their way, and they'll eventually meet at like a second and a third, and it'll work out just fine for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Caleb Williams, I hope you have a great time in Chicago, man. Hope you have a great time in Chicago. But that's the only way I'm going about that.